Alright, so Outriders is getting attacked by griefers. What's up everybody, welcome back to some more gameplay and news. Of course, Outriders related. Today we're gonna talk about some really important changes and features that this game could really use right now. Changes which, if they were implemented, would literally make Outriders perfect, at least for me and in my opinion. And then there's also the very important discussion of griefing, since there's no anti-griefing measures in the co-op in Outriders, so I always wondered if this is going to pop up and happen. So lo and behold, it is actually a little bit more widespread than I initially thought. So let's jump into all of that, starting things off with a pretty interesting thread right here by BK Tour over on Reddit. Hosts kicking players at the very end of an expedition is the title of it, and this is one of the most disgusting behaviors that I've seen in any game whatsoever. Well, to be honest, I've been playing like MMOs in over a decade. I've seen this happening time and time again. You put in the effort, you help the party or somebody else like a group leader and whatnot, and they kick you right before the end, denying you your experience, your rewards, and pretty much wasting your entire time, which is what exactly is happening right here. So this poor Devastator right here, not only do Devastators have a rough time with their builds and whatnot, now they also have to worry about griefers. So in this case, they were doing a tier 15 camp plant, it was about to end and whatnot. They even got to the end screen right here with a pretty awesome timer, but right before getting to the drop pod, the Devastator got kicked, essentially being denied their entire reward. Now, I'm not entirely certain if in this situation you can claim the drop pod back at your base from the chest and whatnot. I think it should be possible, but this behavior all in all is just disgusting. Like, I'm used to this behavior because I've been playing a ton of online games, especially in MMOs. Like, if you played WoW, this is pretty widespread. It was pretty widespread over there as well, so I'm kind of used to it. But I always wondered why the game doesn't have any protection against that. It's super easy right now to kick somebody if you are the host, because there's nothing to stop you. There's no cooldown timer, there's no voting system, there's nothing to literally stop you. And Mr. Jane right here says there has to be a way to stop that from happening. There definitely has to be some implementation. I think that sooner rather than later we will get maybe a voting system or maybe a cooldown or a restriction to kick somebody when the party or the expedition just ended, because that would literally solve this entire ordeal. So yeah, big F's in the chat for the poor Devastator. I really hope that he got his gear back. Well, at the very least he got the drop out resources so he can make up for that. But in the meantime, we're gonna talk about some other stuff that I really want to see in this game, one of which is for those transmogs, the Transmog System, or a way to apply skins to our current gear. So there's a few really awesome suggestions that I've seen around the player base, one of which is the fact that PCF should allow us to equip already dismantled gear as skins for fashion, which is literally like most of the games out there that have a way to equip your character with gear and cool item sets. And that would be literally one of the best solutions that they could implement for people who want this, because you already dismantle a ton of gear. Why not have a drawer? And as you unlock more and more skills by dismantling them, you unlock them permanently in the drawer, and then you can apply them to your existing armor sets. Right now, just to give you an example, I'm on world tier 15 and I look way worse than I looked back at level 10, and I mean that my character's level when I was on world tier 4 or 5. And there has to be a way for this to change, and soon, because there has to be an end game for Fashion Wars as well. This is one of the biggest things in RPGs, in looter shooters, and PCF definitely needs to add this. Even Karas over on Reddit says the true end game is always going to be fashion, and those words never spoke more truth than this time. And yeah, can't respect the game without proper fashion capability. Look good, play good is of course the motto that the game should adopt, maybe in a future content update. Now, since we are on the subject of gear, let's talk about a really interesting concept that I've seen in the past 24 hours. The new altered tier legendary with 3 mods is one of the concepts by Outriders fan. It actually looks more like an exotic type of gear rather than legendary, so something above a legendary tier, because this time around it has 3 possible mods, all of which are, well, 2 of them are tier 3 and and one of them is tier 2. Of course, one of them is modded in, so it doesn't matter how this is going to be implemented in game, but it looks very interesting and super powerful and probably completely unbalanced, like 2 tier 3 mods, a fire tsunami, a branded one right there too, and also an emergency stance that gives you the golem if you drop below 30% HP. By the way, super powerful one, get it if you struggle with surviving, it definitely keeps me alive all the time. But this looks extremely powerful to the point that I might even consider it a little bit broken to the current scenario. Like, if you know, like if you play right now on world tier 15, if you got that high-end gear, if you finally reach that point, like with the methods I've already talked about, you know how broken builds can already be. This might make things even more crazy. On the other hand, I reckon that this could make an anomaly build extremely fun and interesting in the context that anomaly builds right now are kinda lacking. It also comes with a sad bonus. Every enemy damaged by heat wave grants 50% anomaly power bonus for 10 seconds. So this is the helmet of the Akari, of course. But I like the concept, it seems very interesting. The way I see this, I would really love this in a raid kind of update where like the difficulty is scaled even higher, maybe following a level bump, and have something crazy over there like the difficulty of the scale of the charts, in which this kind of build with 3 mods available would make a ton of sense. And yeah, altered gear set is one of the suggestions. Higher than legendary should also give you 3 pieces and 5-piece bonuses, similar to how Diablo 3 does it with the set bonuses, or well, World of Warcraft or other games out there, or 2 and 4 so you can build it together with legendaries, which would also make sense. But in that case, it will definitely be way too powerful, like way too powerful. Let me know down below, what is your opinion on this? Does it look a little bit too OP, or would you just love to see this outright in the game, and how would you feel using a piece of gear like this? But this also brings us to another important topic, and that is of how expeditions actually function. For the love of God, if I'm playing solo expeditions and I die, give me an opportunity to continue playing instead of restarting the whole mission. So this is a more legit concern than you might actually think. Otherwise, you maybe are on world tier 15, or you might find expeditions too easy for your character. It definitely becomes easier once you get like the proper gear and best in slot rolls and whatnot. But what if I told you that that's actually one of the best ideas right now? And let me give you a counter example why that is the case, which is the co-op. In the co-op, you actually do have a way, you do get an opportunity to continue playing instead of outright dying, which is reviving your own character. True that it only happens once. I'm not really familiar with how that resets, because I'm pretty sure you can reset it multiple times in fights and whatnot, but it exists in the co-op, though in the single player it's nowhere to be found. Instead, if you die even once, if you die like at the last mob after clearing out 99% of the expedition, you pretty much get a kick in the butt right at the very beginning, with no way of actually continuing your progression. So here's a few solutions that I also thought about, and I think they make sense. One of them is to, of course, also provide one way of resurrecting yourself once in combat. Of course, this solution might have been way easier if, for example, they added something like Borderlands, where you are just thrown into a down state for a few seconds before dying, in which if you kill an enemy you get resurrected, though of course that's not as easy to implement as just a straight E button to just press and resurrect your character once. So that could be a solution. Another one is to provide a checkpoint somewhere in the middle of the expedition, especially for the expeditions that tend to be longer. Like, some of them tend to have only 3 rooms, which means the completion timer is going to be a little bit shorter, but some of them might have up to 5, which can be significantly longer than anything else. Like, one of the examples that immediately come to mind is one of those forest areas, which has like 5 zones. It takes a really long time to complete, and it would be nice to have a check mark or a save point somewhere in the middle to save over there, and if you die, to restart from that point on, which would make a ton of sense. This has been successfully implemented in the takedowns in Borderlands. I always thought that it was a really awesome implementation. It's still challenging content, but you don't completely get punished if you completed like the overwhelming majority of it, but only died or did a small mistake at the very last mob or very last boss, and it's not warranted for you to lose your entire progress just because of a small mistake when you already passed the test of completing it in the first place. Now, of course, totally let me know down below what is your opinion on all of this. I reckon that this might be a little bit more controversial because there is a huge difference between the takedown in Borderlands and the expeditions in Outriders. The main one being the fact that the takedowns might take a little bit longer than expeditions, though in many of the situations it might like correlate, like you still need 10 to 15 minutes in those as well. So right now, in my opinion, I think that that wouldn't be such a bad idea, but totally let me know down below what is your opinion on all of this. But this is it for now. Thanks so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed this video at any point, it would be super awesome if you left a like on it, subscribed, and activated that notification bell to get these videos early, and I'll see you guys in the next one.